Good evening. This is All India Radio and I'm Anuja Kumar with the news at 9. The headlines. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces a slew of measures to achieve higher economic growth. Public sector banks to get capital infusion of 70,000 crore rupees. Government unveils steps to boost demand in auto sector and make home loans cheaper. MSMEs to get pending GST refunds within 30 days. Super rich surcharge and angel tax on startups to be withdrawn. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says his government is tightening noose on corruption, nepotism and loot of public money. Centre to take immediate measures to ensure supply of pulses and edible oils at a reasonable price. And in badminton, Sindhu and Sai Praneeth enter the semifinals of BWF World Championships in Switzerland. The government today unveiled a series of measures to achieve higher economic growth. It has withdrawn enhanced surcharge on foreign portfolios investors, FPIs, restoring the pre-budget position. Surcharge on domestic investors in equity markets has also been withdrawn. Briefing media in New Delhi this evening, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said, in order to encourage investment in capital market, the government has decided to withdraw the enhanced surcharge on long and short-term capital gains arising from transfer of equity shares and units. The government has also decided to withdraw angel tax provisions for startups and their investors. The government has also decided for the upfront capital infusion of 70,000 crore rupees into public sector banks, generating additional lending and liquidity to the tune of 5 lakh crore rupees.
Additional lending and liquidity to the tune of 5 lakh crores can be made available by providing this upfront capital for the PSBs. This was announced in the budget. We are doing it upfront now. And this will benefit all the corporates, retail borrowers, MSMEs and small traders as well. That we are closely working out the ways in which this flow will happen, how it will flow through the NBFCs and so on in a later slide.
The government has reduced EMI for housing, vehicle and other retail loans by directly linking repo rate to interest rates. Working capital loans for industry will also become cheaper. All pending goods and services tax GST refund due to MSMEs will be paid within 30 days. In future, all GST refunds shall be paid within 60 days.
GST refunds for MSMEs. This was rampantly heard from a lot of MSMEs saying our refunds are stuck. We are not sure when we will get it. Will you give it? Now, this is clearly time bound. All pending GST refunds due to MSMEs till now, that is, shall be paid within 30 days.
Corporate social responsibility violations will now be treated as civil matters and not as a criminal one. All tax notices and orders will be issued through a centralized and computerized system to end harassment of taxpayers. All old tax notices will be decided by 1st of October this year. Measures to boost the automotive sector include lifting the ban on purchase of new vehicles for replacing all old vehicles by government departments. The government will also allow an additional 15% depreciation, taking it to 30% on all vehicles acquired from now till March 2020. Ms. Sitharaman said India's growth in comparison to other countries is relatively better. She said the country's growth rate is higher than United States and China. The Finance Minister said reform has been the top agenda for the government since 2014. Ms. Sitharaman said the momentum with which the government wants to carry out reforms will continue. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today asserted that the resounding mandate of 2019 Lok Sabha polls was not just for a government but for building a new India that focuses on ease of doing business while ensuring ease of living. Addressing the Indian community at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, Prime Minister Modi said, in New India, action is being taken against corruption, nepotism, loot of people's money and terrorism. Asserting that people gave resounding mandate to the BJP government for building a new India, Modi said that India is moving fast on the path of development.
आज नए भारत में भ्रष्टाचार, भाई भतीजावाद, परिवारवाद, जनता के पैसे की लूट, आतंकवाद, जिस तरह लगाम कसी जा रही है वैसा पहले कभी नहीं हुआ.
In an apparent reference to the revocation of special status to Jammu and Kashmir, he said, there is no scope for temporary in India and that a country of 1.25 billion people took 70 years to remove what was temporary. On triple talaq, he said, injustice cannot be done to Muslim women in New India.
ट्रिपल तलाक एक अमानवीय कृति, नारी का सम्मान और उसके जीवन भर ट्रिपल तलाक की तलवार लटकती रहे, हमने इसे खत्म कर दिया दोस्तों. मुस्लिम बहन बेटियों के साथ ऐसा अन्याय नया हिंदुस्तान कैसे स्वीकार कर सकता है?
Mr. Modi said India will achieve most of the climate change goals set for 2030 in the next year and a half.
COP21 में क्लाइमेट चेंज के जो लक्ष्य 2030 के लिए निर्धारित किए गए थे, उनमें से ज्यादातर लक्ष्यों को भारत अगले 1-1.5 वर्षों में प्राप्त कर लेगा.
Prime Minister reached France yesterday in the first leg of his 3-nation tour to France, UAE and Bahrain. He met French President Emmanuel Macron and held bilateral talks. Briefing media about the talks in Paris, Foreign Secretary Vijay Gokhale said the talks demonstrated that France and India are true strategic partners in a host of issues that concern the global stage. Topics that were discussed include the forthcoming G7 meeting, where the issue of environmental crisis and global warming is set to play a huge part. The Foreign Secretary clarified that President Macron clearly stated that issues between India and Pakistan be sorted out bilaterally. Earlier today, the Prime Minister held talks with his French counterpart Edouard Charles Philippe and discussed issues of bilateral and mutual interests to further boost the comprehensive strategic partnership. Prime Minister Modi will arrive in United Arab Emirates late tonight during the second leg of his tour. A report from our correspondent.
UAE will honour Prime Minister Modi with its highest civilian award, Order of Zayed, on Saturday in a ceremonial function at the Presidential Palace in recognition of the pivotal role played by him in enhancing bilateral ties between the two countries. PM is also expected to launch the RuPay card to expand the network of cashless transactions abroad for the Indian tourists and expats living here. Apart from the high-level talks on the entire gamut of bilateral relationship, PM along with Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed is also expected to jointly launch the commemorative stamp on Mahatma Gandhi to mark the 150 years of the birth anniversary celebrations of Bapu. Kanchan Prasad, AIR News, Abu Dhabi.
This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
बोलो भाई.
बस बताने आया हूँ, स्वच्छता की परीक्षा शुरू हो चुकी है. तैयार हो ना?
स्वच्छ सर्वेक्षण तो अभी कर लीजिए ना. आइए.
पर इस परीक्षा में तो आप सब फेल हो गए.
फेल?
स्वच्छता की असली परीक्षा सिर्फ अपने अपने घरों की नहीं, हमारे पूरे गांव की है. आखिर गांव भी तो हम सबका घर है. क्यों? अब तो गांव खुले में शौच मुक्त भी है. मिलके साफ रखेंगे तो गांव को मिलेगा फर्स्ट क्लास. तो शुरू कर दो परीक्षा की तैयारी, क्योंकि स्वच्छ सर्वेक्षण ग्रामीण है जारी.
पेयजल एवं स्वच्छता विभाग, जल शक्ति मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार द्वारा जनहित में जारी.
Food and Consumer Affairs Minister Ramvilas Paswan today said that the government is monitoring the rise in prices of pulses and oils during the last few days. In a series of tweets, Mr. Paswan said the main reason behind this is the creation of an environment of artificial boom in prices of pulses and oils by the hoarders. He said the government will take immediate action against hoarders. The minister further said the government has a large stock of pulses and oil seeds. Mr. Paswan said his ministry has written a letter to Agriculture Ministry to immediately sell the pulses and oilseeds purchased through NAFED, especially the mustard and gram in the market, so that the consumers can get pulses and oil at a reasonable price. Over 200 accounts have been suspended by Twitter, which was spreading fake narratives on Jammu and Kashmir situation in social media during the last week. Majority of these accounts were being operated from Pakistan. Recently, there has been a flood of fake news about people's sufferings in the Kashmir Valley. A careful analysis shows that such news stories are nothing but a farce and far from reality. Old videos and photos are being circulated in social media, which have been claimed as recent pictures of Jammu and Kashmir. This is again a fake news. A couple of Pakistani media channels shared a 10-year-old photo and made false claims. Highly placed official sources said only those people who supported terrorism in the valley are upset with the government's move to remove Article 370. Hence, rumour mongers and fake news factories aided and abetted by forces inimical to India must be shunned. The Asia-Pacific Group APG of the Global Watchdog for Terror Financing and Money Laundering has put Pakistan in the blacklist for its failure to meet its standards. The APG of the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, has also found that Pakistan was non-compliant on 32 of the 40 compliance parameters of terror financing and money laundering. The official said FATF-APG meeting was held in Canberra, Australia, and the discussions lasted over 7 hours over 2 days. In badminton, PV Sindhu entered the semi-final of the women's singles BWF World Championships being held in Basel, Switzerland. She defeated Tai Tzu-Ying of Taiwan in the quarterfinals today. In the men's singles, Sai Praneeth will clash with Indonesia's Jonathan Christie later this evening. Earlier, K. Srikanth, H.S. Pranoy and Saina Nehwal suffered defeat to bow out of the event. Snapping its 3-session falling streak, market benchmark Sensex and Nifty today gained on expectations of FPI tax rollback and measures by the government to boost growth of the economy. A report.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange climbed 228 points or 0.63% to end at 36,701. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also surged 88 points or 0.82% to settle at 10,829. The rupee at the foreign exchange market also appreciated 15 paise to 71 rupees and 66 paise against the US dollar. Arjun Chaudhary, AIR News.
President Ramnath Kovind has greeted the people on the eve of Janmashtami. In his message, Mr. Kovind said, Janmashtami is a day to commit ourselves to the life and teachings of Lord Krishna and called upon people to take a resolve to imbibe these timeless and universal values and follow them for the betterment of their lives and the world. In Uttar Pradesh, all preparations have been done to celebrate Janmashtami. The main function will take place in Mathura, the birthplace of the deity. Elaborate security arrangements have been put in place in Mathura and across the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people in the country and abroad in his Mann Ki Baat program on All India Radio on Sunday at 11 a.m. It will be the third edition of the program after Mr. Modi assumed office during the second term. The program will be broadcast on the entire network of AIR and Doordarshan and AIR website www.allindiaradio.gov.in. It will also be streamed live on the YouTube channels of the PMO, INB Ministry, AIR and DD News. AIR will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. The regional language versions will also be repeated at 8 p.m. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announces a slew of measures to achieve higher economic growth. Public sector banks to get capital infusion of 70,000 crore rupees. Government unveils steps to boost demand in auto sector and make home loans cheaper. MSMEs to get pending GST refunds within 30 days. Super rich surcharge and angel tax on startups to be withdrawn. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says his government is tightening noose on corruption, nepotism and loot of public money. Centre to take immediate measures to ensure supply of pulses and edible oils at a reasonable price. And in badminton, PV Sindhu and Sai Praneeth enter the semi-finals of BWF World Championships in Switzerland. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com. And that is all in the news at 9. Good night.